move on to the next session, which is a talk on Sherlock Holmes' approach to contact dermatitis. The chairperson for this session is Dr. Dilip Kachwaha and Dr. Vijay Paliwal, sir. Dr. Dilip Kachwaya is a well-known dermatologist, senior professor in dermatology and STD at MDM Hospital, Jodhpur. He further strengthens his profile as superintendent of MDM Hospital and principal and controller of SN Medical College, Jodhpur in the year 2000. Apart from medical field, Dr. Dilip has also participated in various games and science exhibitions at activities, district and state level. He was also editor souvenir in Nation Year's Experience in Dermatology. To chair this session, our next chairperson is Dr. M.K. Singhi, sir. We welcome you, sir, to chair the session and invite the speaker for the session, Dr. Ram Gulati, sir.
Thank you very much and a good morning to everybody. I think we're highly thankful to Dinesh Mathur sir and the team that they have organized this hybrid conference. I think probably one of the first that we are seeing after a long time. So maybe I think in times to come we should just be moving on to the physical presence of everybody. That creates a different aura as compared to, I think everybody is bored with the zooming stuff now. Suspecting contact dermatitis, how to approach and be the Sherlock Holmes. So when we are trying to approach a case of what looks like a frank eczema or something which is not responding to our armamentarium of therapeutics that we have, or something which responds and then comes back, I think this is kind of a Sherlock Holmes approach. And when we are sitting in India, some people say perform the Byomkesh Bakshi approach, not the Sherlock Holmes approach. But I think they both exactly are the same, that we are trying to investigate and see whether we can find a reason for it. So this paper back in 1979 found that 46% of the patients who are seen with a history of what looks like a metal-induced dermatitis are patch test negative to nickel. So these are the ones who were suspected of having a nickel dermatitis, but when they were patch tested, they found that it was not there. And therefore, they said that nickel sensitivity cannot be reliably predicted with a pre-test historical information, and that is where the approach comes, that you have to be very careful in your history taking and examination, and sometimes you have to just go back to the history, go back to the examination and find out if there is some reason other than a nickel, and there is where the extended patch testing comes into view. So be the Sherlock Holmes of dermatology when you're suspecting atopic dermatitis, suspecting contact dermatitis, but not just with contact dermatitis. I think day in and day out with many of our patients, we approach the same way. So there were two approaches. There is an Aristotelian approach, which is called the deduction approach. That means you already have some kind of a theory in your mind. You are formulating a hypothesis, and then by observation you are trying to prove that theory. But then Sherlock Holmes gave something called an inductive theory. He said that sometimes you just don't have a theory. What you have is just clinical findings. So you observe and then recognize a pattern. And once you have recognized a pattern, now you formulate a hypothesis and try to prove your theory as to what is the contact dermatitis. That is what we are actually trying to just extrapolate from that we see patterns in patients. They come with, for example, a resistant patch below the umbilicus. They come with resistant patches on the dorsum of the hands and various other areas. And we look at the patterns and we try to formulate a hypothesis, and then we prove that hypothesis or a theory by patch testing or various other means which are available to us. So a careful clinical assessment of the patient is required before any diagnostic test to correctly identify the causal allergens. And that is the same thing which comes with this, something which we call as the RAS testing that we see day in and day out. Doing a RAS testing for all the food allergens is of no use unless we think and we have in our mind what we are looking for. So history and examination is one of the most important pillars on which the patch testing rests as well. So first of all, we divide in acute and chronic. So is it something which has just come abruptly? I think trying to find a reason for that is sometimes easier as compared to the chronic ones, because you can just find what was the exposure in the last maybe 24, 48 hours or maybe a few weeks and look at the erythema, edema, vesiculation. But once we have found a chronic patch which is sitting there for a long time, which looks eczematous, lichenified, fissured, and looks very atypical. For example, the problem is that the contact dermatitis starts from a small area, but then once it is widespread, then sometimes it's very difficult to say where it started, and therefore it's difficult to find the inciting agent. The site and the spread is really important. So go back into the history maybe years back as to which was the place of inciting lesion, and then how it spread. And then there's definitely this non-responsive to treatment or partial responsive to treatment, or maybe just that the lesion comes back. The shape of the lesion is really important, and we have found that if in case of if the history is not very long, that shape is pretty much retained. The location is important. The histopathology, unfortunately, is not very helpful. It is just going to show you spongiortic dermatitis, and it doesn't lead to anywhere. So it can just give you some changes saying it is acute, subacute, or chronic, but it is just going to give you an eczematous reaction, even though you now have inciting agent which can give you lichenoidal infiltrates as well. There are things which can give you some other things, but most of the times histopathology is not very helpful. So the most important feature that we can examine is the location, because the gamut of different contact allergens is different for different locations, and that can give you some clue as to what you are dealing with. So if you look at the head and neck, so that is where the Sherlock Holmes starts with the location. So what is the location where the crime was actually took place? So this crime of inciting the contact dermatitis probably takes place from one site and then it spreads. So the moment we have seen a head and neck dermatitis, we try to find out what the work environment of the person is. What are the various things that the person is actually using and coming into contact with? So they may be cosmetics, sunscreens, certain grooming aids, hair applications. And if you're dealing with the neck, then definitely look into the various cosmetics that they are applying, various necklaces and other jewelry or ornaments, and the textiles. Because even the seams of the clothes can actually cause contact reactions. So this particular patient, whom we suspected as airborne contact dermatitis, so he was photopatch positive for Parthenium. So Parthenium not only can cause airborne contact dermatitis, it can cause photoaggravation of the eczema that is there. So in fact, it is not just the Parthenium you have to take care of, you have to take care of the sun exposure as well. And especially in farmers, it becomes really difficult to actually, because that is their livelihood. So this is the one who did not respond to methotrexate but did well on azathioprine with photoprotection, whatever was feasible for that person. Head and neck dermatitis, this one is a very clear-cut case of Kumkum dermatitis, but then just saying Kumkum doesn't actually solve the problem, because Kumkum has various other constituents in it. So the most important constituent is turmeric. So if it is turmeric positive, this person is going to come back positive when they are using turmeric in some other forms. So just patch testing to the constituents is really important, and that can give a leeway for these patients to use certain things which they are not sensitive to. So they might not be sensitive to turmeric, they might be sensitive to the red dyes like the Sudan or the azo dyes, and that might actually at least let them use turmeric in their day-to-day life. So this one just responded to removal of Kumkum, so we did not go for a patch testing in this case. Head and neck dermatitis, these are, I think, one of the most difficult to solve. And as I think in the papers also we have seen, pigmented contact reactions are really difficult to solve, because first of all, the latency of the response is too large. So even if you actually take away these inciting allergens, it's going to take a long time before the pigmentation is going to settle. So doing a patch testing after taking a history, this one was just 1+ positive to black rubber mix, parabens mix, and thiomersal positive. So with thiomersal, I think I had a huge problem over the last 2 years, where we find thiomersal positivity in many patients where we are not able to find the significance of it. So whether it is just because in the battery we have got slightly higher concentration causing slight toxic effect, we don't know. Whether it's just an irritant effect rather than a contact dermatitis. But thiomersal positivity I've come across so many times where I'm not able to find a significance. But paraben mix and black rubber mix, we were trying to deduce as to what things he should not use. He did respond partially to the removal of those things, but it is very difficult because these two things are, paraben especially is present in so many cosmetics, so it's difficult to take away all of them. But at least it gives you a step forward to dealing with these cases. Eyelids, again, you have to look at a lot of things like medications, cosmetics, airborne fragrances, smoke, hand applications, because hand is the trigger point. Hand is the source with which actually it just goes onto your eyelids, and it takes the source to the eyelids. So telling them that don't touch your eyelids, it doesn't help many a times. So you have to find out what exactly is inciting. For example, this particular person who had a facial reaction along with an eyelid reaction, and in fact, he's a police officer in the suburbs, and when patch tested, he was found Parthenium 3 plus on a patch, but then he had a photo patch positive to fragrance 2 plus. So it was not just Parthenium, so using a lot of DOs and then having Parthenium in the vicinity, so had to take care of both these factors which led to resolution of the lesions. Again, torso textiles are a very important culprit. So think of the dyes, then think of the metals which might be coming into contact, think of the rubber which might be there in various elements, for example, sometimes the elastic. Torso and extremities, again, fragrances are very important, and then preservatives and other applications. For example, this one we never patch tested. I mean, this was an incision and then the stitches by the plastic surgeon of a carbuncle and developed this contact reaction all around. So probably it is, he just responded to avoiding the povidone iodine that was being used on a daily basis for dressing. So it can be an irritant reaction, it can be an allergic contact dermatitis, but when the patient said that I can very easily just take away the povidone iodine, why to go for a test, and he responded very well to it. Again, torso, one has to look at all these religious influences which you can't deal with. So this is a necklace, they are not going to take it away. So even though we tried our best, he did respond to removal of necklace for a short period of time, but the family just put it back again because it is a part and parcel of their religion. And the best way we could do was to wrap them up in a cloth and then put a plastic around it, and they were happy with it. So sometimes you have to find a way out because the cultural practices sometimes overwhelm your medical advice. Axillary dermatitis sometimes is very difficult to come across. And what you have to look for, fundamentally look at whether it is a vault which is involved or whether it is the surrounding which is involved. So here it is the vault of the axilla which is involved. And when you did a patch test, it was positive to fragrance. So vaults, majority of the times, if there is a contact reaction, fragrance is the common culprit. But sometimes what you find is that the vault is absolutely clear. It is the surrounding fold of the axilla which is involved. And here definitely fragrance is less of a culprit, but think of a textile, because when you wear a dress, the dress never touches the vault of the axilla. It just stays on the surrounding. And here this one responded because it was just the history where we found that it might be one of the textiles, and after the history we said that, see, there are various dark colors which can cause contact reactions. So the one they were using quite readily was the red one. So we said avoid the red and see if you can just wear the other colors, and just avoiding the red color landed into resolution of the lesions over months. Arms and hands, again, the history pretty much remains the same. You have to go through the occupation, go through the hobbies, the household and the cosmetic products. And again, if it is the hand and the forearms, then one has to think of the photoaggravation of the eczema or a photocontact dermatitis. And this one, the wristband, and this one was patch test positive to black rubber mix 3 plus. So this particular child had gone to a function where they put this wristband on, and he was patch test positive to black rubber. It's a rubber bracelet that they put in around. This one responded to avoiding both the lac and the metal. What I've seen is if you have a problem with the lac, the lacquer bangles, they have got a metal embracing it. So it is the metal which is causing more of an issue rather than the lac. So they usually have to just avoid all the things which have got a metal in it because they are most of the times nickel sensitive. Legs and feet, this one I think is probably becoming much more common, the toilet seat dermatitis. This one was patch test negative, but then we have a very limited armamentarium in our patch test batteries. So the standard battery is 20 allergens, the one I use is 56 allergens. But again, even in the 56, you only have elements of other series. You don't have the whole series in it. So we are definitely in a dire need for extended series of cosmetics and shoe dermatitis and various other contact allergens. So this one just taking they were patch test negative, but they did respond once the child was stopped sitting on the toilet seat. This one definitely looks very clearly a slipper dermatitis, and she was positive to thioram mix. So rubber slippers were just taken away. Perianal sometimes is very difficult. Here there was a very clear-cut history of using lignocaine jelly. So responded to stopping the topical lignocaine, we never patch tested. This one was a very chronic reaction, looked like warts, but it was a lichenified area. And this was irritant dermatitis secondary to incontinence, and we see it day in and day out, the irritant contact dermatitis around the perianal in people who are incontinent. Mucosal is very, very uncommon, and this one was patch test positive. He was using dye on the mustache, and that probably is what's caused this pigmented reaction onto the lips. Scattered germal dermatitis, very, very difficult, but this one came positive with cetrimide 1 plus in fragrance mix 2 plus, had an atopic background already with atopic dermatitis. So we tried our best, and he did have some partial resolution, but then lost to follow up. So what I would say is that we have got so many allergens, it is difficult to patch test each one of them. So it comes down to your clinical examination and history, which is very important. We mainly use patch test. Repeated open application test is something which can be used, but in vitro testing is something which is experimental, and as Sherlock Holmes said, you have to just look at what is important. So you have to just remove the clutter. Many of the positives will not have significance. So everything that comes positive in a patch test is not relevant. So what I would in the end say that listen to the patient, examine the patient, look at the pattern. You have to re-listen and re-examine, because when you look at the pattern, suddenly something clicks in the mind and you have to go back to the patient and ask some more questions. Do a patch test. Other testing is not something very relevant, but photo patch test is important. Find out the relevant versus irrelevant, and of the relevant that you find, just provide the relevant information, because there are a lot of cross reactions. So make sure that the patient avoids everything that is cross reacting. Thank you very much.
This was a very nice presentation. As we are running late, and I will certainly ask, we'll open the session.
One question.
One or two questions.
One
Dinesh sir is having a question. Sir, please.
Yes. Ram, are you still doing the patch test with those 56 antigens?
Yes, I got the 56 ones from them.
No. Because I also started, and there are at least 7-8 centers we started doing patch tests with 56 antigens. But is it relevant, or well, probably I did not find it much useful. I do not know. What is your honest opinion? Because many people, though, Srinivas must be sitting over here and other people must be sitting over here in the audio, this thing. I would like to have their comment also if they have joined or in that time. What is your opinion of those 56 antigens? Are they not very cumbersome?
Sir, it is cumbersome, but I think 56 is still reasonable, and we can put them on the back.
What is wrong in 20 antigen standard battery?
So I think it's a very limited spectrum that you have in the 20 allergens.
No, but in our country, probably we get the answer of majority of the people like PPD or this Parthenium and other things. And what I am doing it regularly. Dr. Srinivas, yes. Srinivas, can you comment over that?
Yeah. I also agree with Gulati. I do with 56 now. The reason being, if you miss out on this, once again you have to repeat with 56. If you are not able to get in this, again repeating, again the 4 to 5 days of patch testing becomes very cumbersome. So I find it easier to do the full series in one go rather than the small, unless a person where I suspect something very strongly, very highly suggestive of nickel, very highly suggestive of Parthenium. In those I may go for the small series. But when I am going on a fishing expedition, then I go for 56. Along with what the patient is using.
And
That is very
are we getting those 56 antigen series regularly?
Yes, we are getting. Only thing is they take more time to deliver. So you have to order. By the time your half is consumed, you order. So that the next half, before it gets consumed, you will get it.
No, but
it takes 2 to 3 months for them to deliver.
Is it available commercially?
Yeah. From Cystopic only I get.
Persons are giving. And we did not come out, did we come out with any publication of those preliminary studies?
No, I have not yet come out. I think I will. Now I have got enough data, I may do that.
Oh yes, but please come out with that data. But so nice to see you right from Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Say our hello to Lord Jagannath.
वही जगन्नाथ alone. उसका भाई उसके पास है, बीवी भी है, बहन भी है. To all of them I will say.
So, all right, thank you very much. Please.
Thanks, Dr. Gulati. It was very nice.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
And I thank Dr. Dinesh Mathur and team for such a nice arrangements next to the.
Thank you, sir. I would like to thank the chairpersons, Dr. Dileep Kachwaha, sir, and Dr. M.K. Singhi, sir, for chairing the session. Thank you, sir.